Namaskar. We at the Akhil Bharatiya Adhivakta Parishad welcome you to the concluding lecture of the Professor N.R. Madhav Menon Memorial Lecture Series. Today's topic is legal and digital challenges of India post-COVID. COVID-19 is perhaps the greatest challenge that mankind has faced in the modern era. It challenges our way of life and is forcing us to adapt to new realities of social distancing and working from home. In such a scenario, digital space has taken precedence, and there is an urgent need for the modern governments to embrace technologies to meet these challenges. To speak on today's topic, we are joined by Honorable Cabinet Minister Sri Ravi Shankar Prasad, Government of India, and Honorable Justice Sri G. Raghuram, Director, National Judicial Academy. Welcome both of you, sir. Despite the busy schedule.
Basu, you have to add something?
Sir, thank you very much. Permit me to just say welcome you. And I just wanted to say that like your name, Ravi, which means the sun, you have shone bright in both the worlds of law and as well as politics. Born in August 30th, 1954 in Bihar, you began your legal practice before the Patna High Court in February 1980. A formidable lawyer, you were designated as a senior advocate in the year 1999, and you have the honor of representing Bhagwan Sri Ram Lala himself before the Honorable High Court in the famous Ayodhya case. On the political side, sir, you're a product of a revolution. You led the student movement under Sri Jayaprakash Narayan and even had to suffer imprisonment during emergency. Your illustrious political career spans over 50 years. In 2019, you contested and won the Lok Sabha election and represent the prestigious Patna Sahib constituency. Under your able leadership, there have been groundbreaking reforms in the realms of law as well as information technology. You have been at the forefront of the Digital India movement. You have been championing the cause of free and open internet, which is easily accessible to all. You have been working and actively for the integration of justice delivery system and technology since 2014. Because of your tireless efforts, Apolitical, a UK-based NGO, identified you amongst the top 20 most influential leaders in digital governance. The General Secretary of Commonwealth, who praised Indian government's digital project as a new hope for developing and aspiring countries of the Commonwealth, appreciated you for being at the forefront in developing mobile applications and facilitating intercompatibility between businesses, people, and government, and went on to say that the Honorable Minister, you have electrified other members of our Commonwealth family. Under your able leadership, the ministry has launched the Arogya Setu app, which has spread awareness regarding COVID-19. In fact, even during the lockdown, sir, it is under your able leadership that the Indian Postal Service is providing doorstep delivery of money, thereby ensuring that the people, especially in rural India, continue to have access to their bank accounts. Shri Prasad is endeavoring to make the Indian Postal Service a flag bearer of India's logistics supply chain by making it high-tech, automated, and modern. He believes that creating a modern logistics support system is essentially the necessary step for achieving the overall goal of Atmanirbhar Bharat as envisaged by the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi. Sir, it is my privilege and my honor to welcome you, our beloved Minister, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad.
My friends from the Adhivakta Parishad, D. Bharat, Justice Raghuraman, Basuri, Adhendu, other friends. My greetings to all of you. Namaste. It is my privilege to give the valedictory memorial lecture in memory of the great professor of law, Professor Madhav Menon. अधिवक्ता परिषद बहुत ही प्रामाणिक संगठन है अधिवक्ताओं के बीच में, और उसने पूरे देश में अधिवक्ताओं के लिए, देश के लिए, राष्ट्रवाद के लिए, भारत के संवैधानिक मूल्यों के रूप में काम करने में बहुत बड़ा काम किया है। तो मैं इस पूरे संगठन के मित्रों का अभिनंदन करना चाहता हूं। Professor Madhav Menon was really an institution builder. You know, there are three types of people who are great academicians, great professors. The third category is, apart from being professor, they are institution builders. And Professor Madhav Menon was one of them. National Law School, Bangalore. National Law School, Bhopal. It's truly, his work is phenomenal. I remember when I was the Minister of Law in Vajpayee government, we met him for the first time, and then we discussed the entire Bangalore Law School was in the state picking up. Others need to be replicated. In my second tenure as a law minister in Narendra Modi government, I was working more closely with him. Therefore, even to the last days of his life, after retirement also, he was working in Kerala to have good young juniors properly trained to strengthen the court practice. But what impressed me most was his very courageous stand which he took for replacing the collegium system. And I would like my friends to know that he was very firm that collegium system is no more relevant. It needs to be replaced. It has outlived its utility. You all know we came with the National Judicial Commission in the first term of Narendra Modi government, unanimously passed by the two houses of parliament, and unanimously passed by more than 50% of the Vidhan Sabha of the states. Yet the Supreme Court quashed it. Any judgment of Supreme Court we respect. But one thing I would like to flag today, and I would like you to debate about it, and that would be the biggest kind of a remembrance of the foresight of Professor Madhav Menon. The Supreme Court has held that in the Judicial Commission, the Law Minister is also a member. Therefore, the appointees from that process may not be fair and objective when litigation comes against the government. They could have watched the two other members, I can understand. But if this is the reasoning, which it is, then I have a serious reservations as a student of law, which I have also said in the parliament. We work in a democratic form of government. The Prime Minister is the head of the government. All of us report to him. Even now, the appointment of judges file, when I sign, goes to the Prime Minister and then to the President. Therefore, whether the Finance Minister or the Defense Minister or the Foreign Minister or I as the Law Minister, all of us ultimately are accountable to him because he is the head of the government. Now, if the Mere Association of Law Minister leads to doubts about the objectivity of appointment, then it is a very loaded question. The Prime Minister appoints the President of India. The Prime Minister is the principal player in the appointment of the Vice President of India. He is a significant player in the appointment of even judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts now. The Prime Minister appoints the Army Chief, the Air Chief, the Defense Heads of Staff. He appoints the Finance Minister, the Defense Minister. The people of India trust the Prime Minister to ensure the sanctity, integrity, security of India. You all know the Prime Minister has the nuclear button in his hand. The Prime Minister can be trusted for working so many things for the country. But the Prime Minister, assisted by the Law Minister, cannot be trusted to appoint a fair, objective judge. That is too sweeping a comment, about which I have my serious reservations. We have accepted the judgment, we have respected the judgment. But one thing I would like to say again, which I said after becoming the Law Minister again in this government in 2019. We respect the collegium, but we are not a post office. The Law Minister of India and the Law Ministry is not a post office. We are a stakeholder and we shall continue to exercise our role as a stakeholder. I think that's what Professor Madhav Menon also wanted. Now, friends, we are meeting in very challenging times. The world has changed beyond recognition. Could you believe that man was trying to go to Mars and where not scientific inventions, nuclear arsenals, and one virus comes and derails the entire world? There is no vaccination till now. The economy is in shattered globally. The trust is very much under cloud. And many states are not even having the basic necessities to help people survive. Now, in this light, जब कोई दवा नहीं है तो इस कोरोना से कैसे लड़ना है? दुआ करना है और लॉकडाउन करना है ताकि ये फैले नहीं. And here the Prime Minister took a very bold decision that after consulting everything, he said, we will go for a lockdown. And I need to place on record the great appreciation of the leadership of my Prime Minister, the courage he showed. A country of the diversity of India, इतनी विविधता जातियों की, समुदायों की, फिर भी उनकी एक आवाज पर पूरा देश एक खड़ा हुआ. कहा कि डॉक्टर्स के पक्ष में, नर्सेस के पक्ष में, एम्बुलेंस ड्राइवर्स के पक्ष में, सफाई कर्मचारी, पुलिस, इनके लिए हम ताली बजाएं, इनका सम्मान करें, फिर दीपक जलाएं, ये देश में ऊर्जा बनाए. और आपको जानकर खुशी होगी कि पूरी दुनिया में आज डॉक्टरों के लिए और नर्स के लिए ताली बजाने का कार्यक्रम चल रहा है. बट हाउ वी हैव बेनिफिटेड, आई वुड लाइक यू टू नो. If we exclude China, because China has a lot of questions to be answered. If we take 15 countries of the world which are afflicted by corona, America, England, Spain, Italy, Russia, Germany, France, etc. The total population of these 15 countries is 142 crore. And the population of India is 137 crore. The total number of deaths in these 15 countries is 3,53,000 odd 100 till last evening. And the death in India is 4,500 approximately. I repeat, 15 countries having a combined population of 142 crores, having a death figure of 3,53,000 and odd. American death figure has crossed 1 lakh. India, population 137 crore, death 4,500 and odd. That is what lockdown has done. We all need to understand. I would never dispute that lockdown brings it inconvenience. My friends cannot wear their black coat, go to the district court, enjoy the tea in the canteen, talk to their clients, cross-examine the witnesses, or argue in the court, High Court or Supreme Court, as the case may be. You can't meet your friends. You cannot walk. You cannot go to the market. You cannot go to the mall. The children cannot go to school. It is not an easy time at all. But this was needed to save lives. And that we have succeeded. Now, the PM took meetings with chief ministers, 5 in all. Lots of initiatives have been done. Lots of opening have been done. That you all know, I need not go into that. But Basuri very elaborately talked about my record as a leader of Digital India. I normally don't speak for myself. But how we have been able to leverage Digital India during these challenging times, I would like to give an example. Prime Minister led very transformative program, Digital India, Swachh Bharat, Ujjwala Yojana, electricity to all the villages. और जहां तक भारत की सुरक्षा की बात है तो आपने बालाकोट और उरी में देखा है कि उन्होंने देश की अगुवाई कैसे की. Digital India is designed to empower ordinary Indians with the power of technology and bring in digital inclusion by bridging the digital divide. That is Digital India. India's population, as I told you, we have got 121 crore mobile phone, 126 crore Aadhaar card, and 37 crore Jan Dhan account of the poor. We link the three. Your physical identity confirmed by the digital identity Aadhaar, and started sending all your welfare entitlement from gas to ration to Manrega payment directly to the bank account of the poor. In the last 5 years plus, we have sent 11 lakh crore to the bank account of the poor. under DBT, direct benefit transfer. And how much we have saved? 1,70,000 crores, which used to be pocketed by middlemen and fictitious claimants. How we are leveraging this platform in today's time of challenge? PM announced 1,70,000 crore package, about 20 crore women to get 500 each, Manrega payment, Kisan Man, farmers, others. Do you know we have sent close to 53,000 crores out of this money directly to the bank account? And where it is available for them, they are withdrawing it. Or my postal department postman is going with his fingerprint and mobile app to the remotest part in the village, and there is no ATM, no bank, and delivering the money to them. This is Digital India in actual operation. Empowering ordinary Indians with the power of it. From his scholarship to others, all we have done. As you know, we have come with a package of 20 lakh crore. You all know for the small scale, medium and micro industries, 3 lakh crore. Farming sector close to 3 lakh crore. Path-taking reforms we have undertaken, all these things. But there are a very positive side of it which I would like to share with you. और आप लोग देश के वकील हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि मुझे आपको बताना चाहिए. अभी मैं आपसे वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग से बात कर रहा हूं. मेरे अंदर विभाग है कम्युनिकेशन में, सीडॉट. हमने कहा तुम लोग एक मेक इन इंडिया वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग फैसिलिटी बनाओ. आपको जानकर खुशी होगी, 1 महीने में उन्होंने इसको बना दिया और मैंने उसी से देश के अपने सारे चीफ पोस्ट मास्टर जनरल से बात किया. We did a hackathon for young software engineers to come with new product of video conferencing. 2,000 entries came, we have picked up 12, and they are going to have some of the best facility, better than Zoom and others. Work from home has become a new norm. 85% of India's IT industry are relaxed, all the rules are working from home. We came with ideas like geofencing. If you travel beyond the quarantine center through your mobile phone, it can be picked up without your name, only mobile number. Gently say, go back to quarantine center. COVID Saudhan, bulk messaging, maybe 2 lakh in a particular Gram Panchayat to educate. 21 crore messaging have been targeted, sent and in a targeted manner. My friends, including Basti, talked about Arogya Setu. What is Arogya Setu? Arogya Setu is a fine product of India's digital mind and initiative. It traces you. आपके मोबाइल फोन में, स्मार्टफोन में आपने उसको डाउनलोड कर दिया. अगर आपकी तबीयत ठीक है, ये ग्रीन बताएगा. अगर आप किसी संभावित व्यक्ति के संपर्क में आए जो किसी संक्रमित व्यक्ति से मिला है, तो येलो हो जाएगा. If you meet someone who is already afflicted, it will become red. It cautions you. Take care. Second, what it does, if you come in contact with someone afflicted, it helps in tracing his contacts. कि आप कहाँ गए थे, and informing his village, his contacts in his district कि आप सावधान हो जाइए, इनको कोरोना हो गया है. Therefore, this tracing is done in the most fair and objective manner. It is completely privacy proof. All the data is encrypted except the final medical data of an afflicted person, which is conveyed to the system, the district magistrate of this district where you come from, for again of making your friends and relations aware of the looming danger. And under no circumstances the protocol which I have finalized, the data shall be retained beyond 180 days. आज देश के लगभग 11.5 करोड़ लोगों ने इसे डाउनलोड किया है. 11.5 crore people have downloaded. This is how innovative technology is doing great strides in India. I just now congratulated Shivank Agrawal from Jhansi, IIT Roorkee, computer engineer. He has created a great platform, Mitron, reply to TikTok and Facebook. 50 lakh downloading has been done. Tomorrow I will tweet to publicly congratulate him. This great innovation has appeared in India in COVID. That is a matter of great assurance. Handling electronics, I can tell you that when our government came, there were only 2 mobile phone factories. Now India is home to 268 mobile factories. Noida itself has 97 factories. And we have taken a particular pledge that India today is the second biggest mobile manufacturing factory in the world. We shall now make India number 1 because India's opportunity has come. Equally, medical electronics, India must manufacture machines like X-ray machine, MRI machine, pathological testing machine. And for all these, we have given incentive also. Because the way Narendra Modi has handled the situation, along with all the chief ministers, has given India a new respect globally. Now, how it has impacted judiciary? Obviously, courts are closed for a variety of reasons, justifiable reasons. But here, the digitization which we have done, Law and Justice Ministry along with the Supreme Court, has come in handy. Today, 16,000 plus courts are properly digitized, giving 10 Mbps connection. And I must tell you that Supreme Court took a great initiative in e-filing of cases, coming with the e-version 2, which was inaugurated in May. E-version 1 of e-filing is working in courts, high courts and district courts. But one very unique thing I noticed, that there is a website for e-filing registry. My Justice Department told me that last year in whole 19, close to 1,900 lawyers have registered. In the Corona 3 months, more than 1,200 lawyers have registered on e-filing website. The number is small, but the approach is right. I also tried to examine how the condition in High Court. Most of the High Courts are doing e-filing, e-hearing of cases, urgent cases. But the most assuring part of information I would like to share with my friends is कि भारत में ट्रायल कोर्ट्स में 2 लाख ट्रायल हुए हैं ई ट्रायल through virtual examination of witnesses, recording of evidence, etc., etc. I would say it is a modest beginning, but a good beginning. I would like my lawyer friends to recognize and appreciate that this is the first challenge and opportunity you all have to accept. Go digital. Develop your skill in digital technology. और देखिए, मैं इससे जरा भी परेशान नहीं होता. हम लोगों ने बहुत सा ई पोर्टल लाया, आपने देखा होगा. You must have heard about my National Judicial Data Grid. Again, a fine invention with the Supreme Court and my IT and the Justice Department. Today, 13 crore plus cases decided and pending, and 11 crore plus judgment and orders are loaded. At a click of a button, you can get it. And I do it how? I pick up all the cases pending 10 lakh years and beyond and write to all the High Court judges, Chief Justices, please expedite in these districts. At times, registrar confront, I say, no, my judicial data grid is most up to date. It will never speak something incorrect. These digital products, you have to learn to explore more and more. और मैं भारत के वकीलों से एक आग्रह करना चाहता हूं जो मुझे सुन रहे हैं. आप अपने मोबाइल का उपयोग करते हैं ना, गूगल करते हैं ना, समन्स एक्सेप्ट करते हैं ना, कई बार आपको पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती है ना कि मेरा केस कहाँ है, नहीं है. तो अगर अपने मोबाइल फोन से आप इतना उपयोग कर सकते हैं तो कृपया करके अब ई फाइलिंग भी सीखिए, ई आर्गुमेंट करना भी सीखिए। ये एक नई दुनिया बन रही है। अब ये कोरोना कब तक चलेगा, कैसा चलेगा, दवा निकलेगी, भगवान करे जल्दी निकल जाए। तो आपको इस नए अवसर के साथ अपने को जोड़ना होगा। आई वुड अर्ज माय फ्रेंड्स ऑफ अधिवक्ता परिषद that post-COVID world is going to be a different world. ये दुनिया वैसे नहीं रहने वाली है जैसे थी। अब ये दुनिया बदलेगी। अब ये दुनिया बदलेगी तो ये दुनिया कैसी होगी तो देखना पड़ेगा। I am quite sure India's movement has arrived. My leader, the Prime Minister, is an optimist person. All of us are optimist person. Because we believe in the innate ability of Indians and the divine entity of India to deliver. We are proud of our heritage, of our civilization, and of our culture. And we have not the slightest doubt that we shall overcome and emerge victorious. Therefore, I would appeal to all my lawyer friends to also start preparing yourself. I understand the difficulty you all are undergoing. My sympathy is with you. District court, बाकी जगह जहाँ रोज प्रैक्टिस होती है, मौके आते हैं, मैं आपकी दिक्कत समझता हूँ, लेकिन आपकी सुरक्षा के लिए ये लॉकडाउन जरूरी था। और मैं इस बात को भी समझता हूँ कि जहाँ मैं डिजिटल कोर्ट्स और डिजिटल आर्गुमेंट का पक्षधर हूँ, लेकिन फिजिकल आर्गुमेंट को एकदम हटाया जाए इसके मैं पक्ष में नहीं हूं। मैं बहुत साफ करना चाहता हूं, सावधानी के साथ डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट हो या हाई कोर्ट या सुप्रीम कोर्ट, इसके बारे में सोचा जाना चाहिए। जो बार काउंसिल ने अपनी बात कही है, जो ठीक लगा है, चर्चा करके इसका रास्ता निकालेंगे, इसमें सुरक्षा सबसे बड़ी होगी। लेकिन ये मैं अवश्य कहना चाहूंगा, ये समझना बहुत जरूरी है कि the digital and the physical have to go together. The digital must supplement the physical and the physical must complement the digital. जब ये हम अपनी सोच लेकर चलेंगे तो मुझे लगता है कि चीजों को आगे तरीके से सोचने में बहुत ही सुविधा होगी। Yes, the issue of security, of data privacy, of data protection, so we will take care of that. You must have learned that a data protection law bill is already pending in the parliament before the select committee. And I want to assure you, will come with a very robust data privacy law. Couple of things more I would like to add here, and that is, in this digital world, be also a conscious citizen. कुछ लोग फेक न्यूज फैलाकर देश के संकल्प तोड़ने की भी कोशिश करते हैं। कुछ लोग का काम ही है नेगेटिविटी फैलाना। देखिए, आलोचना करने का अधिकार है। We respect and acknowledge the right of criticism, the right to ask questions. That's what democracy is about. But if some people seek to weaken the morale of the country, particularly at the instance of foreign powers, to create discord, promote divisiveness, promote separatism, and promote insidious ideas to create further hostility, then we need to guard against it. And that's what also I expect from my friends of Adhivakta Parishad, to be a big agent of that. I know in future artificial intelligence is going to play a very crucial role. What is artificial intelligence? Human mind. Artificial human mind powered by huge computer which does the computing in the finest manner which your mind can also not think. अब ये नई चीजें आएंगी, जस्टिस डिलीवरी में हम आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का क्या प्रयोग कर सकते हैं, ये देखना चाहिए, ये सोचना चाहिए। ये प्रयोग आएंगे तो आपको उस प्रयोग के साथ अपने को थोड़ा सा, जिसे कहते हैं, समन्वित करना पड़ेगा। You need to coordinate with this new ideas of technology designed to empower and also further accelerate justice delivery. तो ये कुछ बातें मुझे लगी कि मुझे आपको बताना चाहिए। वैसे मेरा एक और मानना है, why I appreciate technology, but I also need to understand that human mind will continue to play its role. Can the artificial intelligence do the cross-examination? It cannot. It requires the mind of a competent lawyer with his great sense of fast thinking to corner a witness in the witness box. आजकल ड्राइवरलेस कार की बात होती है, ये ठीक है, अच्छा लगता है। रविशंकर प्रसाद आईटी मिनिस्टर के रूप में सुनते हैं कि अब ड्राइवरलेस कार चलेगी तो खुशी होती है, लेकिन रविशंकर प्रसाद कानून मंत्री को चिंता होती है। अगर ड्राइवरलेस कार ने कहीं धक्का मारा तो अकाउंटेबिलिटी किसकी है? कार की, कार के मशीन की, या उसके ओनर की? These are ethical questions, and ultimately a machine cannot take the place of conscience. That's what India's approach should be. आपको बताऊं हिंदुस्तान कैसा बदल रहा है। हमारा कॉमन सर्विस सेंटर है डिजिटल खिड़की। Their number was close to few thousand. I was scaled up to close to 4 lakh in the country. They are digital kiosks. They give you land records. They make you digitally skilled. They get your railway ticket. They do undertake digital literacy. They make digital payment. In this whole Arogya Setu, they have downloaded nearly 3 crore Arogya Setu. Many of them have become entrepreneurs. Many of them are also become small coaching centers. You need to visit some of them. You know, there are a simple computer or a laptop with a woman or a man or a young man sitting in a village and giving digital delivery of services. I asked them to start a program, Tele-Law. Lawyers of the Legal Service Authority in a state are available at a fixed time, and poor daughter-in-law having a problem in her house, she comes to get legal advice. A poor agriculture labor, उसको wage नहीं मिलती है, तो वो आता है. I started it in states like Bihar, UP, Kashmir and Northeast. You know how India is changing? 2,21,000 requests came for advice, and 2 lakh advice have been given. Now at least he knows how to go. Should I file an FIR or not? At least the legal preliminary guidance has been given to him. That is the emerging shape of India as far as digitization is concerned. Therefore, all this digital India has created the digital ecosystem for India to lap up the opportunity which beckons us post-COVID. Friends, the world will be different, as I said. But India's value system is going to become accepted globally. From yoga to your namaste instead of shake hand, India's approach to climate justice, India's traditional system of medicine, from Aushadhi to Unani to others, all are going to have global risk. Our immunity system, people say the less number of death in India is attributable to India's immunity system also. जिंदगी चलती है धूल में, धूप में, तो उससे एक इम्यूनिटी बनती है। और शायद जो भारत के जिंदगी को देखने का तरीका है, कबीरदास ने कहा था ना, साईं इतना दीजिए जामे कुटुंब समाए, मैं भी भूखा ना रहूं, साधु न भूखा जाए। जो गांधी जी ने कहा था, there is enough in this world to take care of people's need. There is not enough in this world to take care of people's greed. This greed and need debate has gone too far. Maybe post-COVID, there will be a new approach to life. Samanvay, Sanyam, Sahishnata. And there, our concept of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Nirama. Let all be happy. Let all work together. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. These defining precepts of our heritage will find new global resonance. Friends, I will conclude. I would have loved to be with you, but as I told my friends, there's an important meeting at the Prime Minister's office where the Prime Minister and other ministers are waiting for me. So I will just rush. I'll conclude with one particular obituary to the courage of Professor Madhav Menon. You know, he took a very tough stand on the Sabrimala issue. He said court should be reluctant to interfere in the faiths of the people. If the faith is obnoxious, arbitrary, patently unconstitutional, it should go. And even the Constitution removed untouchability and the right of every people of every caste, community to enter the places of worship. They know that. But if you start being judgmental on faith, and that too at the instance of people who have no connection whatsoever with faith, then you are treading upon roads which is slippery and which has no judicially manageable standards. Before his death, once I heard him on television giving his comments on Sabrimala judgment, and I felt so proud of the depth of his knowledge and constitutional limitations. That was the great Professor Madhav Menon. I'll conclude by reminding my lawyer friends to this. I always do whenever I get the chance to reflect upon India's original constitution, which I have got printed again into the big constitution, and I have sent to many judges. A debate arose in the Constituent Assembly: should we leave it like that? Then be it Rajan Babu, Dr. Ambedkar, Sardar Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru, Maulana Azad, all decided we will fill this constitution, getting India getting free after hundreds of years, with all the pictures of heritage of India, which have animated India. And then Professor Nandalal Bose was commissioned, and they asked him to sketch with a great painter from Bengal. And only two I would like to show you, friends. Just above the fundamental right, what photograph is there? Lord Ram returning to Ayodhya after conquering Lanka and defeating Ravan. And what is above Directives of State Policy, my friends? That's all the more interesting. It shows Lord Krishna preaching Gita to Arjuna in Mahabharata. There is Lord Hanuman is there, Nataraj is there, there is Rani Jhansi, there is Guru Gobind Singh, Shivaji, Mahatma Gandhi. There is Akbar, but not Babur or Aurangzeb. And the last page contains the signature of all the members of the Constituent Assembly. Friends, why I am showing this? These days there is a lot of debate that I believe in constitutional nationalism. No problem. I would tell those friends, please go through the original constitution. What was the spirit of India's original constitution? India, bereft of its heritage, India, bereft of its culture, cannot prosper or progress. Post-COVID, let us draw upon the finer springs of that great heritage of India with a commitment that we shall overcome and we shall emerge victorious. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you very much, sir. That was such an enlightening experience. It was such an all-pervasive lecture. And sir, you're absolutely right. COVID-19 एक दूसरा समुद्र मंथन है. अभी विष की प्राप्ति हो रही है और बाद में अमृत की भी प्राप्ति होगी. आपने बोला that Indian values will actually be accepted globally. So this is such a positive way of looking at such a difficult health crisis. I'm grateful to you for that. And sir, above all, first of all, let me congratulate you from the Akhil Bharatiya Adhivakta Parishad on your efforts towards embracing the digital technology and leveraging it towards the benefit of India. The whole aspect and the idea of digital inclusion of every Indian. And sir, you're absolutely right. Me and my fraternity, the legal profession, we do need to make sure that we do not become extinct like the dinosaurs. We must know that adaptability is the name of the game. We must learn how to e-file as well as embrace the virtual hearing courts. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out your...
Namaste, all my friends. Sorry for leaving. I would have loved to continue and answer questions, but you know I have to go. Thank you. Namaste.
Grateful, sir. It is now my honor and privilege to now invite Honorable Justice Sri Raghuram, who is the Director of the National Judicial Academy. Born on March 4th, 1951, he completed his LLB degree from the Osmania University. He was designated as a senior advocate in the year 1995 and was elevated as a judge of the Honorable Andhra Pradesh High Court on May 17, 1999. He graced the bench until his retirement on March 3rd, 2013, and thereafter he took over as the presiding judge of the Customs, Excise and Service Tax Appellate Tribunal from 2013. And from August 2016, he assumed the charge as a director of the National Judicial Academy, Bhopal. It is my honor, sir, to welcome you today. I request you to kindly present your thoughts on today's topic.
Thank you, Basri, and a fantastic team for organizing this series of memorial lectures to honor the memory of one of the most luminous, exemplary, and scintillating intellect, administrator, and institution builder, particularly in the field of law, who has lived, having regard to his achievements, a relatively short life of 40 and some years. Normally, that would be a long period in anyone's career, but as the Honorable Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad pointed out, right till the day of his departure from this terra firma, he was actively pursuing his passion to contribute to law in every facet of its existence. He was an institution builder par excellence, mentor, civil servant for a time. He has many publications of monographs, articles, journals, books to his credit. He founded the National Law School Bangalore, as also the National Law School Calcutta. He was a founder director and my distinguished predecessor in this National Judicial Academy, which is an institution, a federal institution for judicial education and training. And he has also founded and nurtured Milat, an institution for training of young lawyers. He has transformed the pedagogy in legal education by not only introducing the 5-year course and making it full-time and professional instead of the earlier 3-year course, but also introducing adult learning techniques like participatory case law methods, moot courts, then legal aid clinics that law students participate and engage themselves in during the course of their legal education. Many of my predecessors who spoke at these earlier 3 distinguished lectures delivered by the 2 current and former attorneys general for India, Sri K.K. Venugopal and Sri Mukul Rohatgi, and the distinguished person who made a brief address on the life and times of Professor Madhav Menon in the 3rd of the series of lectures by Mahesh Jatmalani, Senior Advocate on Criminal Law. They have dealt with various facets of Professor Menon's life and achievements. I wish to open a window to provide you a glimpse of his manifold contributions to the National Judicial Academy, which he served with distinction as a founder director between 2003 and 2006. And he introduced the system of deep research, profound research, and established a wonderful library for us. And he engendered standards of excellence in judicial education and training. I remember my first visit to the National Judicial Academy was as a judge, as a relatively young judge of the High Court in 2004. I came here with the first batch of judges for training, and along with me was also Justice Naveen Sinha, currently the serving judge of Supreme Court in that first batch of judges to come here for training. And we were so impressed and awed by the luminous presence, the fecundity of his scholarship, and the profundity of his experience in legal education and training of Professor Madhav Menon. He was a man of extreme detail, paid detailed attention to every facet of the institutions he was associated with. Here in this academy, every area of the academy, the physical infrastructure, the catering, the ambience, the library, the academic sessions, the protocols for training, the research, the reading material that we produce, all bear the indelible impress of Professor Madhav Menon's high and impressive standards he set for this academy. We are extremely fortunate and full of gratitude to Professor Neelakanta Ramakrishna Madhava Menon, Dr. Madhav Menon, for having set the standards for us to follow and emulate in succeeding generations. The first lecture in the series was on judicial review by the current Attorney General for India, Shri K.K. Venugopal. Then we had the former Attorney General for India, Mukul Rohatgi, speaking on the constitutional interpretation and evolution of constitutional text by judicial president of the Supreme Court, presidents of the Supreme Court from 1950 till date. And the third lecture was by Mahesh Jatmalani on criminal law. Legal and digital challenges was a theme so clearly and widely expounded by the Honorable Minister for Law and Justice, and we have heard him all. I only wish to add that the post-COVID world, including the current phase that we are undergoing, will never be the same as the pre-COVID world. The future is evolving into technology-driven information and communications technology, integrated, coming to our limited sphere in the area of justice delivery and legal education too, and fertilized by artificial intelligence. Now, this is a period of great opportunity and even greater challenges and wholly greater concerns. The world will henceforth, where all these take deep roots, not be divided between the economically well-to-do and not well-to-do, nor the militarily powerful and not so powerful, nor the wealthy nor not so wealthy, nor the religious denominations big and small demographically, but between the digitally empowered and the digitally feeble. There might be dictatorships of technology. either in the private sphere, in the corporate sphere, or among nations who have taken to it and evolved digital technology and integrated with artificial technology. They may try to govern human societies in a much deeper and intense manner than has hitherto been done. Those are the great concerns of the future. The opportunities are, again, there'll be greater democratization of opportunity, greater access to justice, certainly because of the digital availability of information about the courts, about court functionings, about audit of the legal profession, as well as audit of the justice delivery systems. There'll also be greater transparency because what all that you do as a lawyer or a judge will be available digitally to be audited, revisited, compared with others in the field, in the profession, or on the bench. There'll also be, as it is, the National Judicial Data Grid makes available every order, interim, final judgment, detailed judgment passed by every judge across the vast territories of this country to be audited and considered. A judge in a small part of the country granting, let us say, 37 adjournments in a matrimonial matter, and another judge in another small corner of the country disposing of the matrimonial matter with hardly 2 adjournments and in a period of 6 months will certainly be compared, and that judge who has granted so many adjournments will be audited, and his career will be on the line. These are the great opportunities of transparency, accountability, and access that the digital age provides. We also have to transform the way we look at courts. I'm talking about the legal professionals. The people are as yet unempowered, weak and feeble. They don't have direct access to the courts except through the legal profession, by and large, barring cosmic exceptions. And we also have to reflect as to the ethical, scholastic, and skill content of our professionals. There is no democratic spread in scholarship, in professional skills, in ethical norms across the hierarchies, economic and standing hierarchies of the legal profession. A few lawyers still corner a majority of the litigation. And the reason is because of the brand value or the people's faith in their ability in particular areas, and in a asymmetric, socially disorganized society like our vast India. There may be other reasons like caste, community, etc., which may leverage a particular community lawyer's success in the profession. These are matters of short shelf life and will dissolve sooner than later. But the democratization and digitally widely availability of information will sort out the men from the boys, to use an old cliche, among the professionals. That situation is bound to come sooner than later. We should be prepared for that. As is said by great historians, sociologists, and philosophers of the current age, today, like in my time, you can no longer acquire, with whatever levels of competence, a particular skill and live your entire life with that. Your skills are obsolescent by the year, if not by the month. You will have to upgrade your skills apart from upgrading your knowledge on a very regular basis if you want to survive as being the hyphen between a dissonant society and the rule of law norms. And to achieve that particular exalted position in society, the lawyers need to reinvent themselves every year. You'll have to be relevant, current, absolutely ethical, and there are many pockets in this country where the value of an argument is measured in decibels. That will have to be a thing of the past. You'll have to engage intellectually with the adjudicator. And you have to do your research. Brevity is the soul of wit, not only in literature, but in law as well. And therefore, your briefs will have to be competently drafted, scholastically considered, professionally updated with your knowledge skills, your forensic skills. There is much to be desired on the investigatorial side of criminal administration. That also will have to be strengthened. It's almost non-existent today. And the prosecutorial skills will also have to go hand in hand to a higher degree of excellence and ethics. You'll have to be a mentor to the court. You can't take advantage of the knowledge inadequacy of a judge, because immediately the judgment, which is the product of your argument and your colleague's argument, who is on the other side, will be coming up for audit on a national assessment of the doctrine and jurisprudence. These are the few challenges. Of course, hardware challenges are there. Net accessibility, availability of power across the regions of the state, that is being addressed by the federal and the state governments. And slowly we'll overcome those deficits. But the soft deficits, like skills of the professional, will have to be scaled up faster than you ever thought possible. If not, you will be obsolete. Obsolescence is already upon us. That is what was the lesson in a more soft manner by the late Professor Menon. Now, hard times have come upon us. COVID is an opportunity we should grab to become resilient and capable to live in the altered post-COVID world, which is of the fusion between digital technology and artificial intelligence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. You're absolutely right. We need to upgrade our skills so that we can stay relevant. And as you said, it's such a positive thought that COVID-19 is actually an opportunity. This is an opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves so that we do not become obsolete. I'm very, very grateful to you for gracing us with your presence today. May I now please welcome our very own of the Adhivakta Parishad, Srimati Suman Chauhan, the National Secretary of the Akhil Bharatiya Adhivakta Parishad, to kindly give her vote of thanks.
Good evening, Sumanji.
Very good evening. Very good evening. धन्यवाद मास्टरी जी. कहा जाता है कि ईश्वर का सबसे पहला आविष्कार जो है वो प्रकृति है. ईश्वर ने कभी सबसे पहले कुछ बनाया होगा तो संभवतः प्रकृति रही होगी. और जो लोग भी प्रकृति को बहुत नजदीक से जानते हैं, उन्होंने प्रकृति के बारे में एक खास बात देखी होगी. प्रकृति की इंक्लिनेशन, उसका रुझाव, झुकाव, वो सूर्य की ऊर्जा की तरफ रहता है, सोलर एनर्जी के लिए रहता है, जिसे हम सोलर ट्रैकिंग के नाम से भी जानते हैं. जब इस तरीके का फेज आया कोविड-19 का, पब्लिक हेल्थ इमरजेंसी की सिचुएशन हमारे देश में आई, तो उसके बाद लोगों में थोड़ी सी निराशा आ जाना, पेसिमिस्ट हो जाना, ये संभवतः बहुत नॉर्मल था. और हमें भी थोड़ा सा पेसिमिस्ट और निराशावादी थॉट्स आने लगे थे. लेकिन हम लोगों ने, अखिल भारतीय अधिवक्ता परिषद ने फिर सोचा कि आखिर कैसे इस तरीके के फेज से हम बाहर निकले, और ये जो ग्रे फेज हमारे लीगल फेटर्निटी में एक तरीके से आया है, इसको कैसे हम पॉजिटिव और कंस्ट्रक्टिव तरीके से इससे बाहर निकले। अपनी इसी खोज में, अपने इसी सोलर ट्रैकिंग करते हुए हम लोग पहुंचे सोशल मीडिया तक, और सोशल मीडिया के टच में आने के बाद हमें लगा कि हम क्यों ना ऑनलाइन लेक्चर सीरीज शुरू करें, और इसी तरीके का एक हम लोगों ने ऑनलाइन लेक्चर सीरीज शुरू करने का जो थॉट है उसको प्रैक्टिकल जामा पहनाने की कोशिश की, और जिसके कारण हम लोगों ने सबसे पहले माननीय दत्तोपंत ठेंगड़ी जी उनके नाम से लेक्चर सीरीज शुरू किया, और उसमें बहुत अच्छे लेक्चर रहे। और इसके बाद जिस लेक्चर सीरीज का आज आप कंक्लूडिंग लेक्चर देख ही रहे हैं, प्रोफेसर एनआर माधवा मेनन मेमोरियल लेक्चर सीरीज, इसे शुरू किया गया। आपको ये जानकर बहुत खुशी होगी कि जब हम लोगों ने लेक्चर सीरीज शुरू किया था, उस वक्त हमारे पास यूट्यूब पर सिर्फ 1500 सब्सक्राइबर थे, जबकि आज हमारे पास 15,000 सब्सक्राइबर्स हैं। कहा जाता है कि शून्य की खोज भारत ने की, लेकिन एक पॉजिटिव शून्य की खोज या शून्य एडिशन हम लोगों ने भी अखिल भारतीय अधिवक्ता परिषद के यूट्यूब सब्सक्राइबर्स में किया। हमारी फेसबुक पेज पर भी 1000 ऑफ लाइक्स हैं, और हम लोगों की अब रीच 1000 से बढ़कर लाखों में पहुंच गई है। और ये मैं कहूँगी कि जैसा कि सर ने कहा कि कोविड-19 आपके लिए एक अपॉर्चुनिटी भी है, तो हम लोगों ने अपने नेगेटिव फेज को भी एक तरीके से पॉजिटिव और सकारात्मक रूप रंग देने की कोशिश की। और सिर्फ अखिल भारतीय अधिवक्ता परिषद ही नहीं, बल्कि हमारी जो स्टेट यूनिट्स हैं वहाँ पर भी ऑनलाइन लेक्चर सीरीज शुरू किया गया। इसी संदर्भ में मैं मेंशन करना चाहती हूँ अपने गुजरात टीम का, जिन्होंने गुजरात ऑनलाइन लेक्चर सीरीज शुरू किया है, और साथ ही साथ उत्तर प्रदेश और उत्तराखंड, छत्तीसगढ़ और मध्य प्रदेश ने मिलकर एक ऑनलाइन लेक्चर सीरीज शुरू किया है। साथ ही साथ दिल्ली में भी ऑनलाइन लेक्चर सीरीज शुरू हुआ है। यही नहीं, हमारे यहाँ पर बॉम्बे में स्टडी सर्कल मराठी भाषा में किए गए। कहने का तात्पर्य यह है कि सिर्फ इंग्लिश भाषा में ही नहीं, बल्कि हमने अपनी रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस में, शेड्यूल में दी गई अपनी भाषाओं में, उस पर भी ऑनलाइन लेक्चर सीरीज जो है वो शुरू किए हैं। और जहाँ तक मैं समझती हूँ कि आप सभी व्यूवर्स उन हमारे सभी एफर्ट्स का पूरा लाभ भी उठा पा रहे होंगे। इसी बात को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं वोट ऑफ थैंक्स पर आना चाहूंगी। सबसे पहले तो आई ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ माय ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड द एंटायर लीगल फ्रेटर्निटी एसोसिएटेड विद इट, first of all extend my most sincere thanks to Mother Nature, that is Prakriti, for making today's event a resounding success for us. Further, I extend my most sincere vote of thanks to our keynote speaker, Honorable Union Cabinet Minister Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad ji, who spared time from his busiest schedule to grace the online lecture series. We had an opportunity to hear the remarkable thoughts and vision about the digital India. This will surely going to encourage and guide us and the society at large in our future endeavors as well. I'm immensely thankful to Honorable Justice Raghuram Gaura ji, who is also the director of National Judicial Academy, for sharing his lordship's views and thoughts. Sir, your thoughts have enlightened us, and we will keep those thoughts as guiding lamp for us in the COVID phase as well as in the post-COVID phase, sir. I'm equally thankful to our young colleague, budding advocate Bansuri Swaraj ji, for moderating today's program. I need to mention my deepest sense of appreciation for her, as she has put her own inputs in the program, and elegance which has been shown by her throughout the program is unmatchable. A webinar like this cannot happen in a day. The wheel started rolling weeks ago. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very proactive karyakartas who have taken care of all the technicalities of live streaming. And on the basis of my own experience, I can say that the advocates who have taken care of the live streaming, they all are budding advocates. But I think if they try themselves in Bollywood, then also they can succeed there as well, because they are taking care of all the live streaming in a very, very well manner. So because of the paucity of time, we cannot take the name of all of them. However, just to mention few names: Santosh ji, Nachiketa ji, Shomendu ji, Akash ji, Ayush Anand ji, Artendu ji, and Archana ji. They have taken immense pain in converting this thought into an action, I would say. And similarly, I want to mention a special thanks for our respected working president, Shri Nivas Murthy ji, for being a guiding lamp for us and a pillar of constant strength for all of us. Without him, it would not have been possible for us to conduct this kind of lecture series, because he has always been guiding us. And finally, I want to say thanks to all the viewers, as of course, because of them only this lecture series has become memorable for us. और बहुत जल्दी हम सब इस ग्रे फेज से बाहर आए, इन्हीं सब शुभकामनाओं के साथ मैं आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करती हूँ. धन्यवाद.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sumanji. Before we go, I just want to thank all the speakers for taking out their valuable time. And Sumanji, आपने प्रकृति की बात करी थी, तो बस आज का सेशन मैं एक श्लोक से समाप्त करना चाहती हूँ. I want to pray for the strength of India and the world. Allow me to kindly say the Mahamrityunjay mantra.
Please.
Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshiya Mamritat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much. And until the COVID-19 crisis is overcome, please kindly stay home, stay safe. Jai Hind.